Alright, so in this section we will talk about SSH, also known as Secure Shell, and by the end of this section you will have a clear understanding on what is SSH, its real life use case, how we can use SSH, and all these with a practical example. But before that, let's get started with a simple real life use case, why we need SSH first of all. Suppose this is a user which is present in the Paris office and there is a server which is present in the London office. Now, this user wants to perform some action or make some changes on this server. So, how this user can access this server? Should he travel to London? Actually, no. And similarly, it could be the cloud-based server as well. So, how a user can access the remotely based or remotely present servers? So, the answer is using SSH. So, what is SSH? It is a way or actually a protocol to safely connect to another computer over the internet. So basically, to access the remote server, we can use the SSH. And why it is called as secure shell? Because the communication between host and the client will be in encrypted format. So security will be there even you are accessing the remote server over the internet. Some more information about the SSH, like the default port for SSH client is 22. However, you can change in order to enhance the security. Like you can use the custom port between 1024 and 32767. So SSH is a concept or protocol. However, SSH is also a command. By using that, we will access a remote server. So you can also see the syntax of how to use the SSH command. So SSH, after then a username @ the host or the IP of the server which we are gonna access. So in this way, by using the SSH, we can easily access any remotely present server. Okay, so to access the remote server using the SSH, there are some conditions which needs to be met. First is SSH service must be installed on Linux server. And how we can check that? Using a command systemctl status sshd for CentOS or Red Hat based Linux distribution and SSH for Ubuntu. And for demonstrate this, I have created two virtual machines, one for CentOS and one for Ubuntu. So let's first see on Ubuntu if the SSH service is installed and up and running or not. So simply we can use systemctl status ssh. That's it. Okay. So here you can see it is inactive. So that means the service is installed but it is not active and running. So for this, what we can do, either we can enable or we can just simply run it. So systemctl start ssh. Okay, so it is the root or admin related task because we are running or bringing up a service. That's why it is asking for the password. Okay, after starting, I can again see the status. So now you can see the SSH service is active and running. Okay, similarly, we can check on the CentOS based server also. Systemctl status ssh d for daemon service. Okay, so there is only a difference of d because in Ubuntu we used SSH, in CentOS or Red Hat you need to use SSHD. So hit enter. So you can see it is the service is active and running. So these are the basic steps okay, which will be helpful for you to understand and troubleshoot in case you are unable to log in or access our server, especially if you are trying to access the virtual box. Okay, so you need to make a small change also in the machine settings and network. So you have to use the bridge adapter. Okay, here in this case, in order to share the network with the host machine, which is your Windows, so that you can access this virtual box from your Windows terminal as well. So in our case, in both the Ubuntu and CentOS, the SSH service is up and running and installed. In case it is not present and you're not getting any result, you can install it first. So for that, I have also mentioned the commands, which is yum install open SSH client and open SSH server. Okay, apt install it is for Ubuntu, and yum install it is for the CentOS and Red Hat. And once it is installed, you can simply use systemctl start and start the service. So in our example 1, we will see how we can access the Linux based remote server from our Windows machine. And for that we need a terminal. So for that you can either use the cmd terminal command prompt, which is present by default in all the Windows machine. Okay, or you can use the putty terminal. And for this demo practical, I will be using the Linux running inside the virtual machine. So I will be using the VirtualBox setup for this. So I have prepared my setup. So on the right side you can see it's my VirtualBox and virtual machine running the CentOS operating system. So Linux CentOS is running in the right side, and on the left side it's the command prompt, which is the cmd terminal on the Windows. Now the task is, from this terminal, the left side, okay, I need to access or to control the Linux server running on the right side. How we can use it? Okay, so SSH. After this we need to use the username. So how you can get the username? Okay, so you can clearly see from here the Paul is the username, or you can either use who am I. So the username is Paul. Okay, so let's use Paul @ okay, now the host name or the IP address of the server. All right, okay, so now I will be using if config command, which is applicable in Red Hat or CentOS based distribution. Okay, if config, and here I will see the IP address of this server, which is the 192.168 etc. Now I will use Paul @ 192.168.1.8. okay, could not resolve host name. Let me see. Okay, so there was a typo, there was 2 dot. Okay, now it is asking for my password. So you must have the username and password created in the server in order to access that. In case you don't have, you have to contact the system admin or Linux admin and ask to create the credential for this purpose. Okay, I will enter the password, and now you can see on the left side it is same like the right side. Okay, let me give you the proof. If I do ls on the left side, ls on the right side, you will see exact same folder. Okay, from the left side, if I create a file, for example touch my file, okay, ls, so there is my file. Okay, and on the right side if I do again ls, so here you can see the my file. So basically what we are doing, from the left side we are controlling the actual Linux server and performing some action. So this is the beauty of using the SSH command. Okay, so for the example 2, let's see how we can access our Linux server from another Linux server. So okay, so on the both side there will be a Linux based server. So for this purpose I have created 2 virtual machine. On the left side I have Ubuntu, Linux Ubuntu, and on the right side I am running Linux CentOS. Okay, now my task is, from one Linux server access the another one. So in short, let's say from Ubuntu let's access the CentOS machine. Okay, how we can do it? So first step is we need the IP of the server which we want to access. So we are accessing the CentOS, which is the right one. So I am used if config, and here is my IP 192.168.1.8. I will go to the Ubuntu terminal. Okay, so this is the terminal, okay, which is the default terminal of Ubuntu. I will simply use SSH command. Again, the username, which is Paul @ and the IP, which is 192.168.1.8. Very simple. Hit enter, and it is asking for, are you sure to continue? We will say yes, and it is asking for the password. So I will provide the password, and here you go. Alright, so if you see from Ubuntu Linux server, I am now accessing the CentOS machine. If I do ls, okay, so again I can see that my file. Okay, if I do ls on the right side, it's the same thing. Okay, if I create a file like file from Ubuntu. Okay, and do ls on the left side. Yes, file has been created. If I check on the right side, ls, so file from Ubuntu. So in this way we have seen like we are accessing and actually controlling the another server from our server. Okay. Alright, so let's cover more about SSH. So how to access remote server without a password. So far we were using a password based authentication to access a remote server. So for example, if I need to access the Linux CentOS, which is on the right side, I need to enter the password every time if I access the server. For example, if I exit again, okay, then I again want to access it, so I again need to enter the password, so which is really very hectic. So it's a 3-step process. First is generate a new SSH key pair on local machine. Local machine means the machine from which you will be accessing the remote server. Okay, copy public key to remote machine. That will be done via a command only, and log into remote server without password. So it's really very simple. Start with the first process. Generate an SSH key using SSH-keygen. So this is a command. Execute this command on our local machine. SSH-keygen. So enter file in which you want to save the file. So I will keep it default. So enter, and again enter. Again enter, and yeah, that's it. And in the description you can also see your identification has been saved in which location these files are saved. So you can see from here. And so there are 2 types of keys has been generated and saved, which is a public key, and identification you can say it's like the private key. Okay, so these keys are generated and saved on your local machine. Now step 2 is copy your public SSH key to remote server, and which is very easy using this command SSH-copy-id. So this is a command, okay, SSH-copy-id, then on which server you want to copy. So for example, in our case we can use like Paul @ and the IP of the server, SSH-copy-id, and username which is Paul @ 192.168.1.8. okay, enter, and again, so for the first time, okay, so here you are copying a public file to another server. So for this purpose you need to enter the password. So I will enter the password and enter. So it is saying number of keys added 1. So 1 key is added to the remote server, and it is also saying now try logging into the machine with SSH Paul this. Okay, now if I access the remote server using SSH Paul @ this and hit enter, you will see it didn't ask me for the password. So it is really very helpful. Okay, so one use case is if you are doing something related to automation, like you have created a script, okay, which run automatically at a given time, okay, on your local machine. Now that script included some task which is related to the remote server. Okay, so you can't manually enter the password at that time. So this method of accessing the remote server, which is without password, is really helpful for the automation purposes.